Hey, welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you're doing well. Today I thought I would do a reaction to an interview that I heard Max Boozer give. Max Boozer is the founder of MB&F, which is one of my favorite independent watch companies, and in that interview he was saying that Swiss watch companies are boring their clients with the watches that they're coming out with. But before we get into that, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing to this YouTube paid channel, it really would be greatly appreciated. So in this interview, obviously I paraphrased, but Max Boozer was saying that the watches that certain companies are coming out with are kind of boring their clients, and there's nothing really fresh and new that's coming out from these big watch companies. And he meant no disrespect to these companies. What they're coming out with are amazing watches, and I feel exactly the same way as he does. But it's a very interesting point. There hasn't been a lot of innovative ideas that have come out from these very big companies. For example, I'll just take Omega and Rolex, for example. Omega has done a lot of reissues of the Speedmaster, the Railmaster, the Seamaster. They're very similar designs that they've come out with. Rolex hasn't really changed the design for their Submariner or their Daytona. And it makes sense. From a business point of view, this makes total sense. Why would you change something if people love what you're coming out with? I completely understand that. But you don't see other lines coming out from these companies. You don't see Omega coming out with a completely different watch, or Rolex coming out with a completely different watch. So I think, from a business point of view, totally get it. Don't fix something if it isn't broken, right? But I think what Max Boozer is coming from is when he says this a lot in a lot of the interviews that he gives. He decided to go and do his own thing within the watch world. One of the reasons why he decided to do that was because he felt that he was designing and creating these timepieces that were for his clients. He wasn't creating these timepieces for himself, creating these interesting designs for what he loves. It was always about what will the client buy. And again, from a business point of view, makes total sense. But in my opinion, I think if a company has captured a client base and these clients are very loyal to the company, I think they should actually be more accepting and want these companies to innovate and continue to develop their brand by coming out with these new watches. I think a lot of people gave Audemars Piguet a lot of grief for their code 1159, which was something completely different from AP. I will say though, AP has a very loyal and very a client base that respects AP for the watch ingenuity historically, but also for the designs that they've been coming out recently. So I think some of the grief that they got was unprecedented because the code 1159 is something completely different. It's not your Royal Oak from AP. It's definitely not. But it's something that they're trying to do and innovate and trying to move our watch, their watch world, but the watch industry as a whole forward into creating things that are a staple for our time. There is obviously a fine line between what clients love and innovating. You don't want to come out with a design that's completely not AP, and I think that, or completely not your watch company. I know AP got a lot of grief because it was like, this isn't them at all, but perhaps that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to create something that is different. If you look back, watchmakers were innovating. They were coming out with these different types of movements to try and make things run better, keeping better time, coming out with designs that people love a lot more. And that's looking back. But looking now, I think we've kind of got into this rut where we're just redoing things from the past because it works so well. But when we look forward, are we just going to continue to do that for the next 100, 200 years? We don't want that to happen. We want to create something now that's innovative so that when people in 100 years or 50 years from now look back on our generation, they're saying, oh yeah, that is from that generation. They did a great job of doing that. I will admit, I think the independent watch industry, the independent watch companies are where that innovative drive and that innovative progression of our watch industry is coming from. MB&F is creating some crazy horological machines that are moving this watch industry forward, and these designs are going to be very, very I think love or hate in 50 years, kind of like the 1970s watches. Either you love them or hate them. I will do another video on talking about 1970s watches because I have a whole opinion on that generation. But independent watch companies is where that's going to happen. And I think in a way we're kind of doing the watch industry a disservice because we aren't creating something that is representative of these watch companies now. We're doing everything that's representative of the watch industry in the past. Now, I'm going to end this with saying I absolutely love what these watch companies are doing. I love the reissues. I think it's a great testament to our past, but I think if these companies are able to run their, if they can run their innovative labs parallel to those historical references, I think that will differentiate the amazing companies to the mediocre companies. And I'm excited to see what comes out of these innovative labs if companies decide to take my advice, because I know they're listening to me right now. But it'll be exciting to see what they come out with, and if there's different types of watches that are sold. I think it's going to bring a lot more diversity into our collections, into the watch industry, and really, kind of stamp our time on the watchmaking map as being one of the innovative times in the history of horology. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, like this video, comment below what your opinions are. I would love to hear what you guys think about what we're making right now, what watch companies should be doing differently. Tell me what you think about the code 1159. Would love to hear about that too. And hope you guys have a nice rest of your day.